What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 3. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what you think of the new season, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting the Season 3 Battle Pass or anything else, it is Evolved Jake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So, surprisingly, the biggest change in this new season is going to be the map is basically new. Pretty much all of the map has been changed in some way by the 0 point, and some POIs did remain the same, but some elements of the POI may have changed, or certain POIs have had elements returned, like pieces of Squibbly Shores or the main area of Sanctuary from the past are still on the map, but these places feel different because it's not like exact replicas of what it was, or not everything that the POI was, like stuff around it has changed or stuff in it has changed. And there's POIs that have kind of just moved location. Like Wonky Land, I think, is pretty much the same as it was before, but it's in a completely different location. And I think the same could be true of Battlewood. So even the places that are kind of the same have differences between them, and it makes this map feel completely new. This is the most amount of map changes that we've ever gotten in a regular Fortnite season. Typically, we have one map that gets kind of like sections of it changed or regions of it changed, but the core map kind of remains the same throughout a chapter, and then when the chapter changes over, we get an entire new map. But in this season, basically the entire map was changed. There's a lot of new POIs, a lot of new stuff to learn. There are some mini vaults around the map that you can open with keys. You get the key just from looting, and when you open one of these little vaults, there's basically a Sprite chest inside, which we'll get to later on. And then there's also the main big vaults that you get a key card for. And both the key card and the key you just find from regular looting. It's not like there's a guaranteed spot to get it or a guaranteed way to getting it. And when you have one of those keys or the key card in your inventory, where you're supposed to take it to will be marked on the map. So that is a weird kind of piece of loot or weird difference with this map. The main vaults from the key card have a decent amount of loot. The ones just from the keys really aren't that special, unless you really want to get the special sprites. And there is also like new secret loot spots as well, like the mini games and stuff that we have had throughout most of Chapter 7. There's more of those and some returning, like the shooting game at Wonky Land still works and stuff like that. So there's a lot to discover with this new map. And there's also a lot to discover and learn with the new loot pool, because there was also a lot of changes here. I believe the only item that returned from last season is the Chaos Reloader shotgun. For ARs, we have the Chaos Exploding Rifle, which does explosive damage on every shot, in combination with the fact that, you know, you can hit them. So if you hit them with the shot, you get the damage from hitting them plus the splash damage from the explosion, but you can just shoot next to people and get like consistent splash damage on them if they are trying to like peek from cover or anything like that. There also is a new burst rifle. Typically in the past, I've really loved burst weapons, but I didn't like this one that much because the fire rate is pretty limited. Both of these ARs are good weapons, but for how I want to play the game, I don't think they're that great, because they feel like weapons that you want to run 3 weapons for. It doesn't feel like either of them are that versatile to just run 2-gun setup with. The Chaos Exploding Rifle has a very slow pullout time if you're trying to pull it out, and then the Burst has a pretty slow fire rate, which makes it not the greatest spray weapon. But as ARs, both are solid, but just kind of the meta for zero build is often to run 2 guns. And so I don't know how frequently I'll be using them because of that. For SMGs, we have the Stinger SMG returning, and then also the Flex SMG returning. The Stinger SMG is a very just vanilla SMG, high fire rate, low damage, decent, you know, accuracy, really good hipfire accuracy. It gets the job done. It's a really good spray weapon. The Flex SMG, when you hipfire it, shoots really fast, but when you aim in, gets more accurate, shoots slower, and hits harder. We had this in Chapter 7, Season 1, and so having it return is nice, and it's one of my favorite weapons in the loot pool. For pistols, we have the Ranger pistol and the new John Wick pistol. The Ranger pistol is going to feel very similar to the pistol we had last season, or the tactical pistol in Chapter 7, Season 1. It's just a fully automatic pistol with really good accuracy. I enjoyed this a lot. And then the John Wick pistol is also really good, but it's not fully automatic. It's single shot, so you need to tap fire to shoot it. And if you have a good trigger finger, you can shoot it really quickly, but it's kind of difficult to do that, I feel like, in close range fights. Like, I can shoot it pretty quickly, but if I'm trying to worry about like swapping weapons and movement and like tracking my enemy in close range, all while shooting it as fast as possible, it's a bit much. So I think this John Wick pistol is really good, but I think a lot of people will probably end up preferring the Ranger pistol or the Flex SMG if you are trying to just run 2 weapons in zero build. But the other guns are good. Like I've said, the Stinger SMG fills its role. The 2 ARs, fill their role. The Chaos Exploding Rifle is probably going to be the weapon that is complained about most this season. It can kill really quick. For shotguns, we have the new Extending Focus shotgun. This has 3 barrels, and because of that, it has 3 shells, and then you have to reload. It has really good range, and when you aim in, you get like a good accuracy bonus. But the damage on this is just kind of mid. It's not the greatest damage, but it has really good range and really good consistency. We have the Striker Pump returning. This is going to be your standard pump style shotgun. It has been buffed since it was in the last since it was last in the game. But to me, it feels like a decent step down from the Iron Pump shotgun we had in Chapter 7, Season 2 and 1. We have the Maven Auto Shotgun, which in my opinion has always just kind of been a mid auto shotgun. It's not the greatest spammy shotgun, but it's probably not the worst either. Pretty self-explanatory. And then the Chaos Reloader has returned from last season. And if you guys played last season at all, the Chaos Reloader is very busted, very good, and it kind of dominated the shotgun, loot pool last season. And I think this season is the same. Like I said, the Striker Pump feels like a step back to me than the Iron. The Extending Focus doesn't feel that great. And then the Maven is just kind of a mid spam shotgun, kind of what a spam shotgun should be. So I think the Chaos Reloader shotgun returning is pretty disappointing. I get that it fits with like the theme or whatever of the Dark Voyager. I don't think it necessarily needed to return because we have the Chaos Exploding AR from the Dark Voyager as well. So if there needed to be a Dark Voyager weapon, there already was that one. But I think the Chaos Reloader kind of will dominate the shotgun choice again unless they nerf it. And that kind of invalidates some of the other changes that were made, unfortunately. It's still really good. We also have the Hunting Rifle back in the loot pool, and I think every rarity above blue, or blue and up, is a guaranteed 1-hit in zero build. The green, I think, is 237 damage, so it could 1-hit if your opponent isn't full HP. But yeah, the Hunting Rifle is back. I'm sure a lot of you will love to use this, and especially if you hit headshots. There is no red dot ARs or anything like that in the loot pool. It's all third-person weapons at the moment. We have the mobility item returning from last season, the Overdrive Grenades. This is kind of the reskin of Shockwaves that give you the overdrive effect and don't break through any structures. And then the new mobility item for this season is the 7 Sliding Gloves. This gives you an improved slide. Like, you just have to have it in your inventory, and then you can slide around much better, and this is going to make you harder to hit and harder to track in fights. You can also use it to travel around the map. It does have durability, and it does overheat if you use it too much. You can use it in the water without it overheating, but on land it will overheat, so you got to be kind of limited with it. There's a mythic version that doesn't overheat at all, and I believe doesn't have durability, so you can just slide constantly with it. And one of the really unique and interesting mechanics of this sliding boots is that when you aim in, you slow yourself down, but you get improved accuracy. So if you slide with these boots and aim in with like the pistol or the SMG, you're not really going to have any bloom at all. So you're going to be able to absolutely melt people. But obviously, when you do this, you're not going to be moving as much either. So there's the give and take trait of there. Do you want to, focus on accuracy and make yourself an easy target? Or do you want to focus on mobility and maybe you don't get that accuracy bonus? So I think there's a lot of kind of little decisions you have to make in a fight with how you use this item. I believe you kind of get like an improved jump from it as well. And from my experience, it does negate fall damage, but I'm not sure if it's just like having it in your inventory removes the fall damage or sliding. It's something that I haven't played around with that much. And, Fortnite items are kind of picky with that sort of thing sometimes. We also have kind of like some miscellaneous items in the loot pool. There's a Rift to Go mobility item as well returning. But we also have some miscellaneous items in the loot pool, like the scanner you can throw down on the ground from the Lawless season. The Shield Breaker EMP grenades are back, and the Business Turret is back as well. And then we also have standard heals, minis, big pots, chug jug, bandages, medkit. The Guzzle Juice is back, which heals for white health until you take damage or reach full health. And then you can fish as well to get, like the shield fish and the slurp fish. One of the big mechanics, or the big mechanic for this season, is going to be the Sprites. This is Fortnite kind of introducing extraction shooter elements to the game, and that is going to be the focus for Season 3, similar to how the rivalries or the bounties were the focus last season. So these Sprites work kind of similar to perks. The Sprite you have equipped will give you a bonus, and you can see this bonus if you read the description of the Sprite or look at the menu in between games. And when you find Sprites, you can take them to extraction points to basically unlock them for future use or save them for future use. Once you extract a Sprite, it will be in your Sprite locker, and then from there, you can equip them to start a match with. You're not starting a match, you know, completely unarmed aside from the starting pistol. You also bring the sprite in with you that you choose to take in. And if you take a sprite into a match and die, you will lose it. But if you have extracted that type of sprite in the past, you will be able to summon it or like respawn it essentially using the sprite dust that you also get from like looting and extracting sprites. So, you know, maybe kind of complicated, but it's Fortnite's extraction shooter. Extract sprites to save them for future use. If you die with a sprite, you lose the sprite. But if you have saved that sprite before, then you can use the dust currency to respawn it. And you can also level up your sprite. You level it up by having it equipped and then eliminating enemies, looting, and then extracting other sprites. And leveling them up increases like how good the ability is. So for most of the sprites I've seen so far, they're quite tame. This demon sprite gives you the siphon effect when you eliminate enemies, which sounds really good. But it starts out at 5 HP or shield at level 1. And then when you get it to level 5, which is the max, it gets up to 25 health or shield on an elimination. Which is a nice bonus. I'm happy to have that. But it's not like game changing. You know, it's not like, holy crap, every time you eliminate somebody, you're full HP. Or even 50 siphon, which is what we had in the past. It's a very tame level of siphon. And I feel like that's kind of the power level for a lot of the effects I've seen for the sprites. There are some sprites that are very rare. And maybe their effects will be, you know, stronger and better. But they will probably also cost more dust to spawn them back in if you ever do lose them. I also believe if you win a match with a sprite, that will count as extracting it. Assuming you're alive when you win. I've only played solos thus far this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if you're playing duos and then you die. You obviously wouldn't extract the sprite you lost. But if you have a sprite on you when you win, that will count as extracting it. And when you do go to extract, there will be a thing marked on the map. You go interact with it, and then it calls in a little ship that you put the sprites in. And then it leaves. When you extract it, be very careful because other people can see that you've called that ship in, and they'll probably try to come and fight you. So don't just like stand there out in the open waiting for it to, you know, come in. And then when it does come in and you go to put the stuff in, you know, try to do it very quickly, and try to, you know, be protected. And then the same is true on the flip side of this. If you see somebody else calling the ship, then you know there's somebody in there that you can maybe go eliminate and try to steal their sprites and extract their sprites from them. So like I said, that's kind of the main mechanic for this season, and it's something that I think definitely will drive conflict throughout the course of the game. If you're trying to extract, you got to be, you know, alert and careful and know that other people are going to third party. And then if you're looking for people to fight, there's probably not an easier target than someone trying to extract. So those are the kind of the main changes. The map is completely different. The loot pool is overhauled. And then we have this new like extraction shooter mechanic in game. There also was some, you know, minor changes as well. Visual audio has been nerfed, so the ranges at which you see, you know, footsteps or gunfire from was reduced. The feature is still there, but it's just not as powerful as it once was. There's a new controller setting called Tweak Zone. I haven't messed around with this too much just because everything's new and I want to just keep things normal while I adjust to the new map and the new loot pool and stuff. But I definitely will be making a video about that in the future. And then also the sprites in game, I believe, will change from time to time, or more sprites will be introduced to the game as the season goes on. And I believe also during like power hours or things like that, there will be like special moments to get special sprites. But there's a lot of like really rare sprites that you could potentially collect throughout the course of the season, and then save in your sprite locker, maybe use to get that bonus later on. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, wanted to give you guys a quick overhaul of what changed in the season. Obviously, I will have more detailed videos on like the loot pool, the best POIs, the mini games, all that stuff, you know, as time goes on. But I just want to get a quick video out when the season drops, you know, letting you guys know what you need to know. If you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.